All right, everybody, welcome back to the Live Ultralight Podcast. Today, we are doing kind of a State of the Union podcast. We're going to be talking all about what's happened this last year, the best and worst of the last year. We're going to be talking about 2022, what's to come, what we're excited about, and also talk about just the outdoor industry as a whole, what's happened with it and where it's going to be heading, and some of our bold predictions. So today, we've got Brigham back on the podcast, as well as Tyler. So he'll be joining us and covering what has happened, what they've liked, what they haven't liked, and again, looking forward. So this is the Live Ultralight powered podcast. It's powered by Outdoor Vitals, and the whole point of this podcast is just to get you out on the trail more comfortably and more confidently. So thanks for joining us today. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you get subscribed because we do have a lot of awesome content coming, and hopefully through this podcast today, we'll earn a subscribe as well. So let's just dive right into this. Looking back at 2021, it was quite a ride. I think that I kind of feel like my thought on 2022 was exactly what I thought about 2021, about 21. And that kind of made me nervous as I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, I thought 21 was going to be amazing after 20 being so hard with COVID and the pandemic. And it ended up being not the case. It actually got worse in a lot of ways for us. And so I'm looking at 2022 and I'm like, all right, we made a bunch of adjustments, a bunch of changes. But who knows? Who really knows? So anything immediately stand off to you guys of best and worst? I don't know. We can start with either one. But
I got one product that is both sides of the coin, which was our Shadow Light backpack.
Okay.
That was an awesome launch. It was received really well. We've all loved it. We've put hundreds of miles on it, each of us, and just really loved it. But we stocked out. We couldn't get product. The product sat on the loading dock for months while the government had shut down the town, and so that was a low point for us. Was we had this awesome product that did great, and everybody wanted it, and it was just stuck. So.
Yeah. That probably showcases a lot of this last year in one product, honestly. I was actually looking back at all the product launches that we had planned for this year, Brigham. Yeah. I think in the last State of the Union podcast, I said there was going to be 14 product launches, and I don't think that included any updates. That was just product launches.
New products, yeah.
And I went back and looked at them and counted them, and we didn't hit that. There was a lot of delays. So maybe let's just start right there. When we say delays, what does that really mean? I think inside of the USA, we've curbed a lot of the growth of the pandemic, and but over in Asia, it's not really been the case. They've had it worse in 2021 versus 2020. And that caused just more and more delays. And then when that happens, and they're actually shutting down cut and sew shops and factories and things like that, when that happens, it just starts this massive trickle effect where they pull people out of sample rooms. So now we can't finish the sampling of the products that we're working on, and we can't, then production gets slowed, and then factories shut down. With the Shadow Light, we literally didn't know if it was either in middle of production when the factory shut down for 3 whole months, or if it was finished. And it turns out when they got back into the office and started working again, the backpacks were done the entire time. They just hadn't shipped out of the factory. So, that's how close we were to having a 6-month stock out versus a 2-month or less stock out, just massive downstream effects. Not only that, but there was also a coal war essentially going on with China and other people. And so since a lot of the fabrics of ours are still coming out of China, not necessarily the cut and sew, but the fabrics, then they have to start looking at limiting capacity in production. And it's just been a massive downstream effect in so many ways, everywhere you can think of. And then it kind of all ends in the shipping. And I'm sure you've actually heard about this because it's been in the news a ton. But what used to take us, a month to get in shipping is now taking us 2 to 3 months if we're lucky. And there's tons of uncertainty with that. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for us for sure. When you've been timing POs a certain way, you've timed your cash a certain way financially, and it really starts to just mess up the entire system. Not to mention, shipping costs for us have gone up 5 to 6x during the pandemic. So this year it's been hitting whole new heights, and so shipping costs have just gone through the roof, on top of providing worse service and slower times. So it's been a lose-lose in that category for sure. But
yeah, I think we could get pretty transparent with what we mean by delays. So if I just break it down, because I don't think most of America, at least for the most part, doesn't quite understand what it looks like. So say the backpacks, right? They're in a factory in another country, and the COVID effect got to them more significantly later or after it got to the United States and other parts of the world. Well, the government has more say about what goes on in private business over there. So you get an increasing level of COVID cases, and so it increases the level of caution for all the commerce in these foreign countries, right? So then the government starts looking at, well, okay, how do we take precautions? So then they start, requiring a factory to increase the spacing between workstations. Well, that immediately reduces the production capacity of a factory, because now there's not as many people in the building, physically in the building. So production capacity decreases, and then you add the workers, the employees. Say a factory with 3,000 employees. Now you get a percentage of those sick that are required to quarantine, and then anybody around them is required to quarantine. So now you've got a more significant percentage of the factory capacity decreasing. And then some of the people that get sick, some of them are prolonged sickness, right? It's just part of the COVID virus, right? Some people snap right back after a week or two, and others it's prolonged. And so then again, that causes more production capacity reduction. And then if they are able to hire anybody, it's not just like an instant replacement. There's a train up if they're, because they're not that fortunate to be able to hire somebody with 15 years of sewing experience, like the person that got sick and had to leave, right? So it's a constant compilation of decrease of production capacity, and then at some point, like Tayson said, the cases got so bad in certain metropolitan areas or parts of the country where the government just said, this is a radius, every factory in this radius is shut down for a minimum 30 days. After 30 days, we'll come in and reassess the situation. Well, that happened, and that happened all over many different countries. And unfortunately for us, that happened to some of the factories that we are partnered with. So capacity was already decreasing, and then capacity at the factories got completely shut down. And then government came in after 30 days and said, no good, cases still are bad. We're going to extend that to another 30 days, and it got extended another 30 days. So we had factories shut down for the amount of time that it takes as a lead time from the time a brand places a PO to their orders finished, 3 months. That's how long an entire factory was shut down. And think of how many brands had purchase orders, product that was supposed to be getting made. So we're it's just exponential, the amount of product across all industries that wasn't being made. And then as they are allowed to open, they're allowed to open at 25% capacity, 30% capacity, 50% capacity. And then all the while, when Tayson talks about the coal issue, that was the Chinese government said all factories had to reduce their emissions by a certain percentage. So
their electricity, because they're primarily driven off of coal burning electricity. Yeah. And so then they are saying we have to reduce electricity, so you can only run at this capacity. You have to turn off your electricity this much, and But essentially everything you just said, that only applied to the cut and sew shop. What you got to realize is the cut and sew shop is just doing that. What about who's making the fabrics? Who's making the trims? Who's making all the other components? And so there's delays there as well. So they can't get the materials. It takes them twice as long to get the materials as it used to. And then they've got this backlog of stuff they're working through with lower production capabilities. And it just becomes this massive issue, which is why, to skip ahead a little bit in 2022, expect not just toilet paper to stock out. I really think there's going to be stockouts in a lot of areas, in a lot of industries, because of this effect. So, man, we probably hit that well enough. I feel like.
Well, the worst was even if a factory could get back up and running, they had the commuter mandates that prevented people who lived further away from coming in just because of their location. So they couldn't even commute anymore.
So some of our factories got shut down completely that were in more metropolitan areas. The ones that were farther out of the metropolitan areas, they had issues getting workers to them. It's just an ongoing issue for sure. And it's not resolved right now by any means. But I will say that we've done everything we can to plan better and better and farther out with our own company. So again, not to get into 2022, that's definitely the ugly side of this last year. It meant that we couldn't launch products we wanted to launch. It meant we had delays in other products. I mean, I don't want to hit a hot button or a sore button, but people have been wanting a new tent from us for a while. And I mean, just on the tent front, for instance, our old pole manufacturer is 12 months out just on poles. That's not the cut and sew. That's not anything else other than just getting the poles built and shipped out. So you're talking for tents, for poles specifically included with that manufacturer, we'd have to be ordering about a year and a half in advance of when we would actually get the products to us. So just that probably paints a picture better than anything. Now that's the extreme, that's the biggest extreme, but it's definitely changed all of the ways that we're ordering and looking at things and planning ahead. And it's just had to. So that's been definitely the most wild and bumpy part of this last year.
Well, and talking about those tents, it really wasn't even just COVID, the whole COVID supply chain issue. Like our tent supplier disappeared off the face of the earth. Literally went black on communication. And that's not related to COVID at all.
Well, it was in the sense that their bigger clients overtook all of their resources and they just said, sorry, we're going to cut the load.
Sure. But I mean,
but still, I've never had that happen before and hopefully never have it happen again,
Yeah.
It was so we had to fight that for a long time and then totally start from scratch again with that tent and which has been a wild part. So let's talk about some good things here for a minute. So what are some of the best things that happened in 2021?
We still did get a few product launches.
We did get some things launched. And good stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, I would say we talked about the Shadow Light. The Ventus has been phenomenal.
We did the booties and balaclavas in the late summer.
Those did really well. The Novas have done well, and I feel like we're still not even doing those justice with how amazing those are. I feel like right now the Ventuses are getting tons of positive feedback from influencers, from us, from reviews. But the Novas are on the same level, and they just haven't been as popular yet. So we're excited for those for sure. But I would say like across the board, I just look at everything and from the quality and the design perspective, all of our products just took this massive step forward. We did some redesigns, we did some launches, we did the top quilt. The top quilt's been amazing. But just in every step, whether it's in the design process or the quality, with the newer factories where we've been utilizing and moving and migrating different things, just overall, it's been a massive step up. And I think the coolest part for us internally is it's being seen, right? Whether it's been influencers that are suddenly, talking about us that maybe didn't before, whether it's some of the PR stuff we've been doing, magazines showing interest in us, articles that they want to write or maybe feature. We've seen interest in that. There's just been interest kind of coming in from different angles the whole time, which internally we see that, and that builds a lot of fuel for the fire for me to keep going and just being like, man, the stuff that we've been working on, especially when it comes to products, and it's me and Brigham, it's like the stuff we've been working on for the last 2 years is finally being noticed. Like, it's a good pat on the back after that. There's some long, drawn out, you got to be patient, I guess, in the design side of the business and the product side of the business, because you just don't get instant feedback. You get a lot of delays in time before you finally get those pats on the back. So we got a lot of those, I feel like, especially this last Q4, and that has probably been one of the highlights for me of the year. And that's just kind of across the whole board too.
Yeah. I think another big one is the team grew a lot.
Yeah.
We put a lot more resources into our support team and our warehousing and all of that. And that has been a really good welcome upgrade. So,
yeah, I think growing a small business, if you followed us for a while, you probably would have seen at times our customer service was good, and at times we were way understaffed, really struggling with things. But I would say pretty much this whole year, I would say, but pretty close to, quarters 2 and on, essentially when Tyler kind of came on board, actually, I would say it was a good turning point. We made a few awesome good hires. We got staffed appropriately, started making systems, and man, the amount of positive feedback I've seen just on the customer service side has been amazing for sure. But overall, I would say, I probably should know this off the top of my head, but we probably grew the number of personnel on our team by almost 40% this year, I would say. Yeah. So that was big, and that is also being seen. The amount of comments we see now that just are calling out our customer service and our just service in general has really, really increased. And yeah, the team in general is just clicking really well. Communication's up. Lots of those little things that happen as the business is super lean and getting off the ground have been fading, and that's been really cool. People have been able to take on more specific roles instead of doing multiple hats more and more, and just overall, it's just been an awesome upgrade to the company's efficiency and service to our customers. So, we did get a couple awesome hikes in, which we shared with you guys. Some bucket list hikes. I feel like those were notable. Maybe not as notable for you guys or as much on your guys' list, but we did some pretty cool things as an entire company, not just individuals this year. So that was really cool and fun to see, the entire team come together and do some of those. And it was a lot of fun, and we documented it. So if you haven't seen that, go check out our YouTube or go backwards on the podcast and listen to those.
Yeah, a couple of those trips were pretty much, they were definitely highlights for me on the year. They were good trips.
Yeah.
Hard to go backwards from there. None of us will want to go backwards from there.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know what backwards would be, but they were good trips. I think from a the location, the product
R&D.
testing, the proofing of product that happened on those just 2 trips. It was pretty awesome.
Yep. That rain jacket. it got proven.
It got some time in the field.
It
got awesome
played pretty well.
I think some other best parts just directly from that and other trips that we've taken though is hopefully has set us up very well for 2022 launches. We just got a lot of really good R&D done. We got a lot of good work on the supply chain done. We got really far ahead on certain aspects of it where we integrated deeper and better with our suppliers, and we should have a much more not just hopes and dreams this is what's going to launch, but more like pencil to paper. These are products that are going to launch. POs are submitted, purchase orders are submitted. There's definitely fine tuning to do on a handful of these, but way further along, and we've just got a way better grasp on what it means to actually get those launched during these crazy times.
Yeah, I would definitely second that and add that's like the good that came from the bad. is it really pushed the like adaptability and progression, like realizing we're having to like adapt and figure out a better way, like on the run, as we're trying to stay not just caught up, but trying to stay ahead of the curve a little bit. And I do feel like that's been something that we've kind of learned and picked up and like really implemented all at the same time, like what we're having to do to like stay ahead, like over the next 18 months, honestly, is I think that's probably a huge advantage that we have, is, you know, being our size and being like the type of business that we are. It's got to help like a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like on the inventory side and the finance side and the forecasting side, like we've gotten really efficient, and really like all of the planning and things that you've done, mostly Tayson, to work on that has really paid off and put us in a lot better position than a lot of the brands that I'm privy to elsewhere.
What we've probably learned is that the more I fire myself from, the better it works. So that's my goal for 2022 is just, you know, involve more team members, create more systems, and then watch them like a hawk, you know. But yeah, it's definitely been good. We've made some good progress in a lot of those areas, and there's more efficiencies we can definitely, that I see, that I want to keep, you know, striving after for sure. But we're definitely adaptable, and I think that's a great question to pose, as well as like, all right, what's the best and worst, but like what other things have we learned and adapted to, you know, from these specific times and the difficulties that we've had with certain aspects. I feel like this is kind of turning into like doom and gloom, but it's actually been a great year.
Yeah.
We have super positive outlook. I'm super stoked about a ton of things going on for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's a good one, like that Brigham brought up. That's just like that extra pressure that's put on us forces us to improve. Like you can't just sit stagnant, and hopefully by the time this is all said and done, like Outdoor Vitals is just going to be 3 steps forward, you know, compared to just stagnant or moving backwards.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like a professional sports team or a college sports team that like they really, sometimes you can't do it. You can't control like the quality of your opponent always, but like you relish the opportunity to like for the challenges. And so like a team that plays really like a really, you know, pretty weak schedule, at the end of the season going into the next year, they're really not much better than they were. But you know, the team that I feel like that's kind of like what we had is like maybe like a first half of a game where like our opponent was way stronger than we were anticipating
last year,
and we adapted and really kind of shifted and improved. And that's kind of the why I do feel like it is a positive thing, because had we not had some of those challenges, maybe it wouldn't put the pressure on us to really get into the nitty gritty and dig in and find the right way of doing things that'll be better for the brand in the long run, even had like this whole situation never even taken place, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say like in the inventory and warehousing side, we've improved a lot. We've also uncovered a lot that we're realizing like that pressure that we've got now is going to force us to be more efficient. And we've got
that's where the outlet really blossomed
the outlet
this
was
year.
a big thing.
Yeah, we got really efficient with product that comes back to us for repairs or warranties or things like that. And now the outlet is a fantastic resource for people to either get into backpacking or just get spares of things, or, you know, save a little bit of money. And that all kind of spawned after that. Well, there's 2 needs that forced it. One was us trying to fight this general economic battle, but the other was we were just needing more warehouse space and needing to get a lot more efficient. So yeah,
that's something we didn't even touch on either. Was one of the best aspects, I think, was expanding some of the office space, building out a conference room, adding some more warehousing space, and we're actually in the works of building a showroom where people can walk in and it'll be more like a showroom instead of walking in and
seeing
like
an
ducking
e-commerce
out
company with
backwards.
boxes everywhere.
Yeah, with computer stations and boxes and just thinking
Nobody
that they
can ever say we don't care about our customers more than our employees. Some of our employees still have to wear jackets all day.
Yeah.
But we're getting a nice showroom.
hey,
And good jacket testing. Yeah.
we yeah, Brigham.
I don't know.
It's
I'm
constant
that was a
R&D.
little-
I'm not talking about anybody in particular.
So
Brigham just needs the ability to grow his hair, his entire body hair longer in the winter, like animals, like put his winter coat on, because
That'd be nice.
that's basically what happens, but in a different way. Hey, maybe that's going to change this next year if we get out of that specific unit that's an ice box
Yeah.
and move into a different unit.
if the heating guys will ever call me back.
Yeah, if we can ever get people to work work for us.
So I have
Contractors.
another pretty cool positive that we haven't really talked about that came from 2021.
All right.
And that's we really dialed in our core values as a brand and as a company, and it drives a lot of our culture and a lot of the decisions that we make on the back end of like, is this a product that fits, or is this a decision that fits with our core values? So I don't know if we've actually talked about the specific core values on the podcast, but we came up with 5 things that we feel are like really what makes us different and what drives us and what we look for in every employee and what we look for in every kind of crossroads that we come for decision making. So I'll just run through them real quick so you guys know like what we're all about and what's driving us. And the first one is live ultralight. And so that's been our kind of tagline for a while, and it's driven our product design quite a bit, but we look at it on all aspects of the business. So it even comes down to like just us trying to simplify our lives or our processes or, things outside of backpacking. But we definitely look at Live Ultralight as kind of the gateway to renewing ourselves, rekindling our relationships, and just being more healthy by being outdoors. And so that's our first core value, Live Ultralight. The second one is be tenacious. We feel like it's just really important to not let obstacles stand in your way or keep you from getting done the things that you need to get done. And part of that being tenacious is just like being really passionate about being about continually improving. And so you'll definitely see that in us, and it's cool that we identified that in it. The next one is ask why. So that's core value number 3. And ask why is an interesting one, but really it comes down to us just never being content with the answer that people give of, well, that's the way it's always been done. Like we really like have come up with some cool processes, and you guys have come up with awesome products just by asking why. Like, why does this have to be this way? Or, so we've made that a core value. The next one is act responsibly. So we built that into our core values because we want to take responsibility for our company, our community, and our environment. And we also just feel like it's important for the company or our team members to look outwardly and take responsibility for what we're putting out there, but then also be responsible for each other. So that's a big one. And then the last one, the last core value that we defined this year was hike in their shoes. And that just really means that we look at someone else's circumstances and we take time to try to understand that circumstance fully before we start making our decisions or pressing our opinions on someone or something along those lines. So that works in how we approach customer support. It helps in how we design products and who we design products for, but it also just helps internally in the company. So we've made a lot of internal cultural and like structural improvements this year, but the core values to me are like the most notable in the sense that that's something that I hope our listeners will resonate with and help them to see like why we do what we do. So
yeah, I don't even know what to add to that. I mean, it has been a massive part of this year. As the guy, that started it, I feel like those have always been there in a lot of senses for me, but it was more so getting them out on paper so everyone else could, dance to the same rhythm and understand it and realize, all those aspects. So that's been really, really helpful. And I think it is something that customers can look at and understand more of who we are and what we are trying to do for sure. So I think that's really good. Okay, anything to add before we maybe just start looking at 2022?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, 2022. Let's just start with things that we're excited about. So, exciting things for 2022.
All the backpacking trips. I'm excited for the Grand Canyon. We are going to do the Grand Canyon. We'll do the rim to rim to rim.
Fast pack.
So that'll be. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Kind of on that note, it's kind of, I don't want to spend too much time on that subject, but it is worth a note that it's kind of like a new thing for us.
I would say it's a new thing for the outdoor space in general is fast packing. It's been around a while, but it's like finally gaining more popularity, I feel like. And it's gained a lot of favor with us.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because it's like, I hesitate to say it's like a new thing. It's like a new style almost. It's like, I don't know what the parallel word would be. It's like, it is. It's a new style of doing the same thing, a little bit different method. And
I think it aligns a ton with us too, because we all really love to get out there and challenge ourselves. And we love that aspect of things, but we also just don't have infinite amounts of time. And so fast packing just allows us to do things that used to not be options.
To do a really cool trip in a short amount of time because that's what you've got.
Yeah. You've got a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend and like, wow, this all of a sudden became an option now because of the mileage that you're now able to cover. And it just, for me, it's really inspired me to continue to get in better and better shape too. So
that's what I was going to say. It's it lights a fire under you to get out there and trail run or hike to get conditioned for some of these trips, because when you're looking at a trip that's 25 or 30 miles a day, like it's serious enough that you have to prepare. And when we're all going on it, it's a fun way to prepare and exercise and stay on top of it.
We're definitely still backpackers. Don't get us wrong. Like the fast packing we did this year set us up really well to do really, really well at the backpacking we did, where we were doing bigger days, bigger miles. So they go hand in hand to us for sure, but it's definitely something that I feel like is getting more claim and fame within the industry, but also for us, we kind of caught the bug and it hasn't really left any of us. So, I mean, for Pete's sake, Brigham is still running every week. I mean, holy cow.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited to share what we come up with and, from the product side and just the journey, like all the Grand Canyon and whatever else we do, it'll be fun for people to take part in, follow along.
Yeah, I don't want to tell people like what products we're launching. I want to keep them kind of guessing and reading between the lines, but I will say I did tally it up of the things that are launching, and we have like all of these I would say are like 99% likely to launch, except for one. And so we've got 10 new products that we think are going to launch, and 9 of them are like POs are submitted. Like POs are submitted. Yeah. Well, some of them were. A few of them.
Carryover there.
Yeah, 1, 2. A few of them.
Yeah.
Those ones are more likely because they've been in the works for longer.
Yeah, but like 9 of them, we literally have purchase orders in on them.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple updated products that also we have got purchase orders in on. And then maybe one last one that's we've got prototypes, but there's no PO in on it. So lots of new products and much more likely to actually hit and launch those products which is really, really exciting. Some of those products are going to be launching maybe as soon as January, and then it's going to be fairly consistent through most of the year.
In the spring, hopefully, right? A few of them.
Definitely like late spring, early summer. There's going to be some. There's going to be some, January, February time frame, or maybe into March, kind of depending on when they all land and whatnot. But
You're not going to give any hints?
Any? I think people can read through the lines on something like
a lot of it's been like, if anybody,
or like we all had white things on when we were hiking the High Line, so like if they're watching that, they're gonna have some ideas. And you already talked about some rain R&D that we tested heavily, and lots of people know about a certain tent that has been under development for quite a while. So. There's probably a lot. And honestly, if you watch our videos, you're going to see me, Brigham, or the rest of the entire team using certain things, and you can read between the lines.
I would just say pretty much every category we're already in, we'll have something new.
Mm-hmm.
Or like substantial upgrades.
Yeah, which is really, really exciting. I'm definitely stoked about that. So... And again, I just think that we've made a lot of headway in not just hopes and dreams launches. Like these are, it's happening. So, other things from 2022, I would say I'm really excited about just the outlook of the brand and some of the like PR, like basically magazines or other things that might come into play. We're doing bigger pushes there. It's really the right time for us to do these pushes, and so. You'll probably see Outdoor Vitals start to become just in different publications. Many of you probably found us through YouTube or an ad or something like that. But we're going to be doing some work there to become a little bit more mainstream, and it's really the right time. The products have got to the right place where we're sending them out, and people are emailing us back and just thoroughly impressed. And so we'll keep pushing on that until we get the publications and stuff to start writing about us. So I'm definitely excited to see what happens, because we've already seen so much good happen, and it's kind of a long game, but I thoroughly see that happening in the next year, and that'll be fun. I think that'll be fun for followers that have followed the brand for a long time. You'll kind of be like, man, I knew this brand from the beginning, and it'll be fun for us that have worked here for a long time and followed it for a long time. So I'm looking forward to that in 2022.
There might be hopefully we keep our fingers crossed, a little more travel that we can do in 2022. With Dakota UL, we should be shipping that, for the Kickstarter campaign, those who backed that, we said it would ship in June, right? And we've got a few other products that will complement that very well. And so that will be a cool new thing to see how people use that travel / backpacking pack to go and do their adventure travel and just kind of really break into that. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That reminds me, as a company, probably traveling. I do look forward to hopefully being at the PCT Trail Days this year. That's definitely something we're trying to do, and we will definitely make it as long as they're holding it and there's no conflict. So looking forward to doing that for sure.
That'd be a fun one. It'd be really fun to meet a lot of you guys, or just get out of the office to do some of that and meet people. And I definitely look forward to that.
We've got some good things in the work for the Live Ultralight membership as well. We're kind of always refining how that works and bringing new offerings in there. And there's a few that are slated for that. So for those who are Live Ultralight members, that will just get better.
Yeah, that'll get better. There'll be things that will pre-sell inside of there exclusively. There'll be other things we'll have. Basically, we're going to try to push to do some type of a something for the members almost every month. So if you're already a member, you'll be auto, added into that. It's not like just for new signups or anything like that. It's more of just something kind of exciting inside that membership all the time. You guys are definitely some of our most loyal customers, and we want to keep you guys excited and show you our appreciation. I think with that too, maybe that's a good segue into, people might ask like, why do we do it? We give them store credit and the full amount. So it's not like a revenue stream as much as like, I don't know, you could say prepaid inventory almost, which is part of why we've done things like Kickstarters. This is going to be an interesting year because as of today, we actually don't have a planned Kickstarter for the next year. And might be a turning point for us where we don't use Kickstarter anymore. We, do the membership thing, and maybe we do some additional pre-sales on the side. So that'll be an interesting thing if that does hold and we don't plan any Kickstarters. And for those of you that don't understand, why we're doing any of this, maybe just a quick touch point on here at Outdoor Vitals. We're a family-owned, business. We don't go outside to get additional funding from venture capitalists or other investment avenues. And what that allows us to do is just keep the company's focus on you, the customers, as our primary stakeholder. Once outside money starts getting involved, you've got to make them happy. You've got to make your customers happy. And that can oftentimes pull companies apart and just do things that we don't like. I've talked about this probably a lot. There's actually specific podcasts where I've talked about this. We've touched on this a lot. But essentially to us, VC money or investment money is kind of the worst thing that can happen to us. And so we're never going to take that. And so we have to do other things to fund our growth. This type of business, just every product launch we do is a lot of money out of pocket. And so we have to take it very seriously. And some of these things really, really help us. So if you are a LiveUltralight's member, thank you. If you've pre-ordered products from us, thank you. We hope that we just over-deliver on everything that we're promising with those, and that we're giving you slightly better deals and things like that to help us out. But we do appreciate it. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit more when we switch to just looking at the outdoor industry as a whole, because there's some one particular company that has made some changes, but that is worth noting. Any other things, I guess, internally we're excited about? I mean, obviously the team, the company, the systems, all just running cleaner and more efficiently, less mistakes. I think our customer satisfaction is just going to continue to increase and get better and better. I just think that as a mechanism of a business, we'll just get better and better, which equates to you guys that are listening to this to just be better service, better products, more things on time, etc. So,
yeah, I think to go in a little more depth on the showroom, we've always enjoyed having customers show up here and want to see what's going on, but we felt like we haven't provided very good experience for them because they just show up and they're like, is this Outdoor Vitals? Is this where all the product comes from? And all they see is boxes and people working on computers and us moving product around. So now that we'll have the showroom, we want you guys to stop by. If you come out here to visit Zion or Bryce Canyon or Arches or whatever, you can come stop by and
maybe try stuff on.
Yep. Sign our brag wall and try things out and see what's new. We might even have samples of things that are coming out, going to launch soon, that you can check out and get your hands on prior to them coming out. And
the Coda UL backpack would be a great example. Those have been floating around the office for quite a while, and people that have stopped in can see them.
Yeah, so I think that will be a cool way for us to connect on a different level than we've been able to previously. And so stay tuned for that. It's the space that we're doing has mostly been remodeled right now, and we just need to catch a breather after these holiday
maybe rushes. End of January.
Yeah.
We'll have that up and running for people to be in here. So it seems like we get an influx of traffic around March timeframe, so we'll for sure be ready for you then. So
yep. So that'll be cool. And then we'll just be expanding our office and warehouse space more this year. So
maybe on that note too, if you do come into the office, you'll get to meet some of the team. Don't be offended if I'm not able to meet with you. I would love to meet with everyone. Brigham, he's a recluse, so you're definitely not going to meet him. But no, just kidding. Just kidding.
I actually like talking to people.
You get pulled a lot, actually.
I get really good insight, and I really like the opportunity to meet with people.
He just works in the back corner.
I mean, in fairness, I am fairly reclusive, so I'm not going to like dispute that part. But I do like meeting
It's not
people.
that you don't want to talk to him.
Right. Yeah. I remember one of the first trips we took McClin on. We're like at a trailhead. We're getting all of our gear on to go on this hike, and there's people around. And McClin starts talking to everyone. And we're just all kind of like looking at McClin like, all right, what's going on? Let's go. And I remember if it was like once we started hiking or something, if he asked the question or someone asked him, but he's like, do you guys like not talk to people? Are we not supposed to talk to people?
That was what he said.
Yeah, are we not supposed to talk to people about what we're doing in our gear?
That was good.
And
we don't talk to people.
We're just like, no, it's fine if you want to talk to people. We just, I don't know, we do our thing.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk to people a lot, but I'm probably a little bit more on Brigham's side of the fence of like, if you ask me a question, I'll talk your ear off, but like, I'm probably not the starter of conversations with strangers hardly ever.
Well, I think McClin was seeing those people look at all of us put the exact same backpack on and the same colors of gear and shirts and all that stuff, and he's probably thinking like, okay, those guys either think we're like a scout troop or a wilderness therapy program.
There's all the more reason to just
or something else.
Put your head down and
pull the hats
hit
down.
the trail.
It's been way worse. I mean,
nothing to say here.
There's been times where we look full on like a scout troop, about passed out handkerchiefs and.
Yeah. We should. That'd be sweet. Get some long socks that have our address number or something on it, and some handkerchiefs.
If you can get Brigham to design those, I'll wear them.
Sweet. Oh, one other thing. I'm excited for our cross-country ski backpack trip plan that we have for just a few weeks out. So
that'll be fun. We've got to finish Highline. We've got to make that happen. We've been looking at some trips maybe in Colorado, or I was watching some stuff on like Wind River High Route today at the gym, and so we'll have some fun ones for sure. But definitely looking forward to the ones that are for sure planned, like Grand Canyon and the cross country ski one. Those will be good. Well, let's just take a quick second now, maybe as we're getting closer to the end, to just talk about the outdoor space in general, things we've seen, things to expect. And maybe just kind of give people an inside scoop on how to handle 2022. So I would say for starters, absolutely expect inflation. And the reason I say that is when we're charged 5 times more for shipping, like as a company, we can't just eat that out of profit, you know. And most companies, if they had that happen, that would literally put them negative. So they can't eat it out of profit either. And so just with shipping alone, there's going to be inflation. 2, on the supply side, we're getting higher and higher pricing essentially because capacity is limited, and they've got the fixed amount of overhead at every step of the fabrics are going to go up a little bit, and trims are going to go up a little bit, and hardware is going to go up a little bit, and then cut and sew is going to go up a little bit. And when everyone adds 5 to 10% to their stuff, then we pay that, and then we bring it over, and then have to also pay the extra shipping and all this. It's just going to equate to inflation, which is tough. But that's just going to be the reality. The government printed a lot of money, and then on top of that, there's all these other factors, and it's just going to be something you see in the space for sure. And that's, if you haven't seen it already, I think that you will for sure see it in 2022. I don't know the intricacies of like the retail side of things, because they might have been somewhat price locked on certain things throughout the year. So it'll be really interesting to see if there's like massive jumps at the start of 2022. Like when 2022 stuff is rolling out, if there's really big jumps and continual big jumps with seasons, because in retail, I think they're just so much more based off of seasons. So that'll be something to watch for. Fully expect it. To what extent, I couldn't tell you, but significant. I mean, enough that you will notice it for sure.
Ours won't be as bad as a lot of the brands, though, because of our direct-to-consumer model. Like, we're definitely able to give a lot more performance per dollar than a lot of these other brands, and we're going to try to keep that under control as best as we can, as far as the inflation goes.
I mean, it's the raw goods cost us just as much as they cost anybody else. So it's not that,
or more.
We're able to generally have more expensive materials, like just whatever the materials are. That's just the freedom that we have as a direct-to-consumer brand. But to the point that in the outdoor industry, just the cost of everything, every component, it's all gone up, and that affects us. That affects retail brands. But like you're saying, the fortunate thing is that the value proportion still stays the same, for our customers at least.
Yeah.
So
if we raise a price, it's one price raise. But if a company that is distributed through distributors and retailers raises their price, then that price raise is compounded by the distributor and by the retailers and everything. And so that could potentially be more inflation than you would see with the brown cars.
That's significant when you consider that basically every retail brand out there, and for a fact in the outdoor industry, they design their product line on price point. That's one of their first identifying factors is what's the price point on this jacket? Mm-hmm. What's the price point on this pair of pants? What's the price point on this shoe? What's the price point on this pack? And then they go to the design board. That's just fact. That's just nothing. It's just how it is when you're owned by dozens of other people. So that is, that's one of the great things about.
So what's the takeaway from that they're going to either skimp out on quality or prices are going to go up?
Yeah, do you remember 2008? So the big recession in 2008. And one of the most noticeable places you saw this was at restaurants, even Chili's. You go to Chili's and all of a sudden half the menu's gone and the proportions or the portion size is down 30% and it doesn't even look like the same dish. Well, it's because they had to go to a different supplier for the raw goods, for the sauce, for the pasta noodles. They altered all their supply chain for cheaper, lower quality food, and the dining experience as a whole went down, across the hospitality industry. All restaurants were doing that. They're cutting corners to stay alive, really. And so that's kind of what that translates to in terms of outdoor products is there's a very wide window for that to happen when you have this massive inflation.
So has Chili's quality stayed low? Because Atlas loves eating at Chili's. That's his favorite
I will
restaurant.
say it is not back to pre-2008 levels, but it has gotten better than 2008.
That's good. Yeah, I make note of it. You're going to see companies will have to adapt. I think that's the name of the game for 2022. And this whole pandemic is companies are going to have to adapt. They're going to have to choose whether they can lean into big price increases and the inflation of the market, or lean away from it and try to pull back on something like quality or cut a few corners. Directly related to that, I would say is expect the stockouts. We've already touched on that. Today, I've been watching for a pair of insulated boots that I want to buy for 2 months, and they're just non-existent, and I'm just gonna have to give up on them or something. Tents, getting, especially the bigger family size tents, just non-existent.
I went through that this last summer and I was trying to get a 4-person tent and I just couldn't even get one. So I got a 3-person tent and me and my 2 little girls are
jam
max capacity, and yeah, it's real.
Just go to the hammock and put one
Sardines.
under each arm. Yeah. No, that's what we got to do in 2022 Outlook. We got to get Brigham sleeping in a hammock.
Give me a new back and I'll sleep in a hammock.
But yeah, just expect lots of stockouts. It's kind of just says if you've got something that you want or need sometime throughout the whole year, just plan farther ahead. That's what we have to do as a business is plan way farther ahead than we ever have. And you as a consumer, I'd say the same exact thing. You just got to plan farther ahead. Don't expect to be going on a trip next month and order everything up a month ahead. That very well could not be an option. If you know you got a trip coming in May, start shopping now, so that you make sure you have the full kit together by May, hopefully.
If you know you want a house,
No.
Don't even go
start
there.
looking 3 years ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
I think what you're saying about planning for your trips is a good reminder to kind of talk about that in the winter, because now's the time to start looking to get your permits, get your buddies together, figure out what trips you're going to do, and get on it. There's less permits right now in most of the national parks because of the COVID restrictions, and so you just have to be planned ahead. So
yeah, plan ahead.
we've got alarms for some of the permits that we've got to get in our calendars and stuff so that we
What did they just do
get on there.
at Zion? They changed something.
Something about the shuttle, maybe. I think they changed up the shuttle.
The shuttle. I think it is like transportation related for like once you're in the park. Ski resorts in Utah are doing permit only parking. If you're headed out to Utah to go skiing this winter, some of the resorts are doing, you have to have a permit prior to getting there before you can, for you to even park. Crazy. Yeah. Different interesting things going on.
Something to note on that too, this will be the sponsor of the podcast today, is we do have payment plan options on the website. So I know that kind of makes it's easy to say that and be like, all right, yeah, get all your stuff early, but it's not easy to always fund that maybe early. So if that is an issue, there are payment plan options right on our website. So as you're going to checkout, you can look for those. I think they're 6-month type payment plans. So anyways, check those out. They're very affordable if there's any fee involved at all, and spreads it out a little bit so that you don't have so much upfront cost if you're wanting to get ahead of the curve. So, okay, I think that kind of covers those two things. Let's talk for a second about what I alluded to earlier. One of the bigger companies, I would say, in our industry did just sell out. They sold to an investment company. I guess you'd call it an investment fund. You could call it a VC, but VCs, I don't know. It's all kind of muddled in the same. But Osprey Backpacks, they just sold their company to, I'm going to blank the name of the fund, but to an investment fund. And that just happened, I think, the last couple months. Another one, and we actually talked about this. Well, I don't think I said the company's name, but if you've listened to the podcast and you wanted to piece things together, there was another company local to Utah that just sold in the summer called Climate. They just resold, and actually that wasn't their first sell. That was just their current venture capitalists selling out to the next round of venture capitalists, which is where I was kind of talking about people. A lot of the workforce got fired and moved, and the company got dressed up and prettied up for that sell, and just the opposite of what we like here at Outdoor Vitals and what our goals are. So some pretty big changes, I guess, in some of those senses. I will be very interested because Osprey's been, I think the current owner or the founder had been there for 46 years. So that's just such a significant sell to me. I don't feel like anyone's really talked about it, but to me, that's a significant sell. Osprey was the first backpack I ever bought getting into this space and getting into backpacking, me personally. Always thought they had really good designs and just had a really good favor in the outdoor community for sure. They're probably the biggest pack maker, I would say. So they've sold. Now's a good time to watch what's going to happen over the next couple of years with that company and see if they kind of start to get tarnished, per se, by that outside fund and by them now having to not just make customers happy, but make sure that they're turning the right numbers for their investment fund. One of the things I think we read about right away was that their profit levels were lower than the fund's average, so they expected to have to flip that and get the profit levels up, right? So all sorts of things like that happen when you start playing around in that field. So I feel very thankful that we haven't ever had to use any kind of funds like that, and I feel extremely dedicated that we never will. So we'll always find another way and keep the focus on designing the best products and giving customers the best experiences we can without having to cut corners and skimp on things that should never be skimped on if you're the one out there using it in the field. So, okay, other thoughts for just outlook of 2022 in the outdoor space? I know nothing about REI or if stores are open or closed or anything like that, or if the retail sides come back. We may, I think there's going to be a few more shows. We probably look at one that's going to happen in Salt Lake this year that I think is a little more consumer focused, called the Big Outdoor Show. So hopefully there's just more overall involvement and people getting out and being able to rub shoulders within our industry this year for sure. But
I'm excited that we're going to Outdoor Retailer in January. That's right around the corner,
and some of our suppliers are finally going again. That haven't been there, or just other. We can look at fabrics again. Stuff like that just hasn't been the best experience through.
There's a lot of value for us in doing that, so I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, that'll be big. Okay. Well, I think we've covered it really well. I think, is there any other last thoughts, I guess? I think we've gone through a lot of the best and worst of this last year. Overall, I'm incredibly excited for 2022. 2021 was not bad by any means. We did a ton of stuff that I loved and felt like we were making massive progress the whole time. But I also feel like we set a lot of groundwork to move forward. And that seems like a repeatable thing that I say a lot, but maybe I'm just an optimist. I don't know, but it sure seems like things are moving in the right direction in a lot of categories for the business, and I'm definitely excited about that. So hope you guys are as well. Okay, one other thing I did want to touch on was we are going to start reading comments, questions, reviews, things like that that you guys give us. So we did have a comment come in, a question come in, I guess I should say, that we did want to answer on the podcast. So Bradley Dezall asked, thoughts about the Garmin Fenix 6 series watches. I've heard good things, but they are very expensive. Do any of you upload topo maps to your watch for navigation? Anyone want to start on that one? So the Fenix 6, that more expensive, that watch is like they start probably around $700 or around there and go up to like $900.
I think that watch is a couple years old now.
It is.
There's a model that's kind of superseded it.
The Delta, there's a new one called Delta from Garmin that kind of has superseded it, but it's different. It's more tactical. It's kind of like more like the Instinct watch, but with the Fenix features as well. I think there is potential.
Same with the Enduro. The Enduro is another new one that's just come on. Will have a lot of that same functionality as the
Fenix.
Yeah.
It's possible it'll get phased out, but I guess in that tier with that kind of capabilities, do we use them? What do we think of them?
Yeah, to answer that most specific question, all of us do our navigation on our phones. Like, we typically all download our maps onto our phones so that we can use them in airplane mode when we're out on the trail with it downloaded.
For those of you that don't know that's the thing. You can turn your phone into airplane mode, turn your location on, and if you've got that map downloaded, you can be saving all that battery and still be navigating.
Yeah, the GPS is separate from the cell service. So that's how we all navigate. We're all, like all of us here, share maps back and forth on Onyx, and we use that heavily.
It's a pretty premium software, but it's really good.
Yeah, it's the best we've found, and we do a lot of trip planning, and we want to be safe, so we're sharing those maps with friends and family and with each other so that everyone on the trail has access to the map in case something happened. So I've tried to do a little bit of navigation on my Instinct and just felt like I didn't get as much detail as I wanted on the phone, so I've stuck with the phone.
I would say to that, I have never had like the Fenix or any of those watches where you get like a full color picture topo on it. But I have had that on a Garmin InReach, the bigger Garmin InReach for sure.
The Explorer.
The Explorer. And for me, I never used it to navigate. It was just more cumbersome. I couldn't do as much as my phone, so on and so forth. I have uploaded maps to my Instinct watch. Same thing. Just wasn't worth it, honestly. And it drained the battery more and so on and so forth. So no, I would not recommend personally. I don't really like navigating off of my watch, so I don't have a need for those topo style maps inside of my watch. The other reason that I'm not as big of a fan of some of those higher end watches so far, at least, is they just drain the battery. And my watch, I can go, logging, let's say, at least an hour-long workout every single day. I go a week and a half to 2 weeks between charging. And if I'm going outside and doing stuff, it's longer because I've got the solar version. So, for me personally, battery life is a big deal, and I just don't think I'd really use the Fenix 6 features. So for me, that's kind of our take, is I don't really have interest in the Fenix 6 as of right now, but maybe some of these newer ones that are coming out, like the Delta, maybe I'll look more into that at some point. But it's like $1,000 watch is what those ones start at, and I don't feel like I've got a need big enough to justify it. So
it is interesting. I was thinking about this a couple runs ago, thinking about like fast packing, and a lot of people that do endurance races or fast packs,
they do
use a watch, because if you think about it, it's like
time savings.
Phones are just getting bigger and bigger. And having a giant phone for navigation when you're trying to keep everything to a minimum is, as I was thinking about it, it does make a lot of sense if you just take a watch. Because if I could ditch my phone on a overnight fast pack, I totally would. Or you know what I mean? Because one, where do you put it that's going to always be comfortable as these phones keep getting bigger and bigger? Two, that's a half a pound. So I think there's merit to it, but I don't see it being really practical or realistic for an extended period of time, like multiple days. Then you're just going to be carrying battery banks to charge your phone. So
I would say the biggest thing that I resonated with what you're just saying is, where do you put it, especially fast packing? That takes up a big chunk of your chest harness.
You want food there.
You want food and water there.
Yeah.
And then you got to slide a phone in there, and it's just one more thing. So that would be nice. I probably wouldn't ever leave my phone at home. I don't know. I would have to be really motivated to leave my phone at home. So to me, even if I could leave it in the main compartment of my backpack, and if I was on that type of a trip, that probably would make sense. But for us, for most things, I like to have my phone, because I'm going to be trying to take pictures, take videos, capture some of that experience as well. So I don't know. Well, Bradley, I hope that answers your question. I think it probably does. I would say if you're well into running and racing and stuff like that, then it probably is worth having. For us, it hasn't been as worth it because battery life, and we just don't use all of the apps that are on there. The additional apps and access that you get just haven't really been needed for us. So that's our take on it, I think.
Yep.
Okay, if you guys want to ask questions, make sure to send us messages at LiveUltralightPodcast@gmail.com, or on our YouTube channel, the Live Ultralight Podcast YouTube channel. You can leave comments there. We'll read and respond to those as well. So we've got some really good content coming up, and you'll definitely want to make sure you're tuned in for that. We've like Tyler said, we've got a cross-country ski trip. I think we're going to do a recap of the trip I just did, where I went out and slept in some pretty extreme temperatures. It was -9 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was really, and had some wind and some fun stuff there. So I think we're going to do a podcast on that. We'll have some good trips and stories and stuff like that we'll be sharing on the podcast here soon. So make sure you are subscribed. And if you haven't left a review, make sure you do leave that review, and we'll be sure to share it here on the podcast. So really appreciate you guys listening in today. Hopefully you guys are as amped about 2022 as we are. Should be a lot of fun, and hopefully you're a little bit more prepared for it. And with that, we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.